Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Becky and I like to read. Today I am going to share with you 5 of my favorite audiobooks from this year. I've never really been a fan of audiobooks until last year when I got like 2 free months of Scribd and I took advantage of it, and all of a sudden I love audiobooks now. I pay like $9.50 a month and I get anywhere from 3 to 10 audiobooks a month depending on like how popular they are or if they're new releases. I tend to read more backlist books, so it works for me. If you want to get 2 months free of audiobooks with Scribd, there is a link down below. You can click it and get your 2 months free. The dog wants to go for a walk. Okay, well, if you're not gonna lay down, then I'm just gonna do this video with you standing there staring at me. Okay. The first audiobook I'm going to share is The Boneless Mercies. This is a backlist fantasy series. It is about a group of young women who pretty much go around doing mercy killings for people, and when they get tired of doing this, they think that if they can go and kill this creature that lives in the wood that is terrorizing everybody, that they can get notoriety and fame and they can quit killing people. It is a Beowulf-inspired story. I didn't so much enjoy the story. I think I gave it like 3.5 stars. It wasn't one that I super loved, but I loved the narration of it. It is narrated by the same woman who narrated the Serpent and Dove series, which I absolutely love. I love her voice. And while I was listening to The Boneless Mercies, I'm like, why does her voice sound so familiar? And it's for that reason, because she narrated the Serpent and Dove as Lou. So that's a case in which the story was just okay, but the narration really made me enjoy it so much more. The next audiobook that I really enjoyed this year is Not Even Bones, and it is one of my favorite new series. I think it deserves way more attention and hype than it gets. The narrator really inflected her voice to show her different emotions. I would have loved it had it been dual narrated, but because this is a book completely from her point of view, I understand. And she did a really good job. So if you're interested in reading this series, I highly suggest the audiobooks. I did listen to book 1 and 2 on audio. Book 3 was not available through Scribd. It might be available through Audible. I read book 3 physically and I still really enjoyed it. But this is the story of Nita, whose mother brings her magical beans to dissect to sell their body parts on the black market. And when she makes some decisions, things go wrong and she ends up on the black market. It is an extremely gory and bloody series, but it is so unique and so good. And the villains, there's not a hero here, they're all villains, and it just deserves way more love and attention than it gets. So check out Not Even Bones. The next audiobook that I really loved this year is Black Sun, and this is a multi-narrated audiobook. I believe there are 3 narrators, and I think if you're going to read this book, I highly recommend the audio version because I feel like it just brings it to life. It really immerses you in the story. Why, when I am recording videos, do you animals have to be so annoying? Hey. Do you have to do that right now? You have all day to chomp on your food. I think just listening to this audiobook really immerses you in the world, and it allows you to hear the characters' voices and hear how things are pronounced. So you get a more in-depth look into this world, and it is just so good. I loved Serapio and Ashala's voices, and they were my 2 favorite characters, so I loved their perspectives in this. I do own this gorgeous edition because when I love audiobooks, I want to own the physical copy of the book just in case I can't ever listen to the audiobooks again. I always have a physical copy. But I highly recommend this series if you're looking for an adult fantasy that is completely unique, something you've never read before. Highly recommend this one. The next audiobook that I absolutely loved this year is The House in the Cerulean Sea. This audiobook is only singularly narrated, but the narrator did such a good job of inflicting his voice for different characters that it really made it a great reading experience. This is the story of Linus Baker, who is a very straight-laced, follow-the-rules kind of man. And he is sent to this orphanage where these magical kids who are supposed to be like the most dangerous kids in the magical realm live, and he has to assess their living situation to see if this orphanage should remain open. And while he's there, he ends up finding this family that he never knew he needed and falling in love with the headmaster of this orphanage. It was like a mug of hot cocoa on a cold day. It was like sweaters right out of the dryer. It was just such a feel-good story that had so much like moral lessons in it for people to learn, but the characters were all so lovable. I have never loved an Antichrist character more than I did. I don't even want kids, but I would want to adopt these children. That's how much I enjoyed this story. If you have not read this, it gets a lot of hype and for good reason, and I do recommend the audiobook because it was a great way to listen. And the last audiobook I'm going to share with you is probably my favorite audiobook that I listened to this year, and it is A Nameless Witch. When I first spotted this, I was just scrolling through Scribd looking for a witchy book to read, and I saw this, and I actually thought it was a middle grade book because of the cover, but it's not. It is an adult humorous fantasy. It's sort of in the same vein of The Princess Bride. It's one of those over-the-top, ridiculous quest type things with ridiculously animated characters and all that. So if you like The Princess Bride, you might really like this story if you haven't listened or read it already. This is a story of a witch whose mentor is murdered, and so she's out on a quest for revenge. Along the way, she gathers up a group of misfit friends, including her demon duck and her sentient broom and her white knight, and they're just all on this journey to avenge her mentor. It was really funny. I laughed so much listening to this audiobook, and it is singularly narrated, but the narrator does such a fantastic job of changing her voice for each character. It was so good. And it was a really quick read as well, but I highly recommend this one if you're wanting a funny, great narrated audiobook. So those were my top 5 favorite audiobooks of this year. Let me know down in the comments if you've listened to any of these, and if you would like 2 months free of Scribd, again, that link is down there in the description. Check it out. So until my next video, thank you guys so much for watching, and read something great for me.